Hey everybody, it's Matt. Wrestling with Whiskey is back, and today we're in the kitchen for a little bit of an experiment. So today we're going to be trying an infusion experiment, which means we're going to be taking something exterior and adding it to our whiskey and then pulling it back out. So we're not necessarily adding flavor, we're not adding sugars or any other flavoring liquids in. We're taking something solid to put in it like you've done with water, with lemon, lime, all those kinds of things. But we're going to try it with the whiskey to see what kind of things are imparted. So let me show you what we're working with today. So we're going to try two different infusions. One, we have some dark maraschino cherries here. And over here we have some roasted salted nuts. That's always fun to say. And the whiskey we're going to be using is a Russell's Reserve single barrel, non-store pick, off the shelf, that will make for a great infusion. Now, why did I choose Russell's Reserve instead of something maybe bottom shelf, right? Because if you're going to be mixing or infusing, things like that, just use something cheap. No, the better the product you start with, the better the product you're going to end up with. That's true for cocktails or anything you're mixing. It's just true. And Russell's has this wonderful balance of sweet, spice, and bold that I think would match well with the sweetness of the cherries and then even the nutty and saltiness of the nuts. But we're going to find out. So let's get to mixing. So I'm going with a 1-to-1 ratio because I really want to see the influence of whatever we're infusing. So we start with about 1 cup of the cherries, and then we add in just about a cup of salted and roasted nuts. Add in our 1 cup of bourbon. Seal those bad boys up. Put them in the fridge for preservation's sake. We're gonna let those guys sit for about 24, if I'm feeling froggy, 48 hours. So we'll check back in a little bit later. All right, everybody, here we are. It has been 48 hours, good amount of time for any kind of infusion. But before we pour these out and taste them, there's a lot of oils, there's a lot of salts, especially in this mixed nut batch here. So we gotta filter those out, and the regular old colander is not gonna do it. So we're gonna need some coffee filters. These will usually help filter out a lot of the salts, oils, the heavier products, and leave us with hopefully a nice clean liquid. So let's get started doing that. And of course, we'll need a funnel. I'm gonna take the funnel here, pull out one of our coffee filters, basically set it in, and now I'm gonna carefully pour into here, and it'll slowly but surely filter through. This could take a while. The coffee filter, you've seen coffee percolating. It can take a hot second, so be patient. Okay, so we've filtered out enough to have a pour of each one of these. And one thing I want to point out right away is look at the color. Here we have the nut infused, that sounds so bad, the nut infused whiskey. Here we have the cherry infused. Look at that color. And for a reference, here's regular Russell's. Here's the same bottle I used yesterday. Those about the same. If anything, the nut one is a little bit lighter, but they're pretty much identical. And then you have these side by side. That is intense. Now, I mean, the cherry, I filtered the cherries. They're, from sitting in the jar, there was some of the kind of sugary juice. So I got as much of that out. I washed the cherries. So there can always be a little bit of that extra sweetened juice in there. But still, just the effect of the cherries alone had an incredible influence. I am excited to taste whatever happens here. So let's get to pouring. So over here, we'll pour our mixed nut infused Russell's Reserve. Over here, our cherry infused Russell's Reserve. The color is insane in these. Holy crap. That is wild. That is something else. So, like we normally do, let's take a nosing, shall we? So I have a feeling I know what the cherry is going to be like. So I'm going to go ahead and do the mixed nut infused Russell's Reserve. Strong, like cashew, salt. Again, these filters might not have been perfect, so there's a good chance there's a little bit of oil and or even freaking salt in here. So we'll see. But there's peanut, there's cashew, there's still vanilla underneath. It's a little funky. It's like straight up nutty, which I don't know. Not like Jim Beam nutty. Like this, yeah, it smells like nuts in the glass. Wow, there's no good way around that, is there? Now the cherry. Now see, it's absolutely sweet, and you can see it and you can smell it, but it's not as overwhelming like, whoa, somebody left. This almost seems like a cherry liqueur version of Russell's, which would never, ever happen. But that smells much more delicate. That smells much more balanced than this. All right, I gotta take a sip of this salted, roasted, nut-infused Russell's Reserve. Cheers. If you can't tell by my reaction, I think there's a little too much salt. It is not a margarita, so it does not go. Oh my God. It's not as terrible as I'm maybe making it seem, but it is not good. So honestly, there is an oiliness, and that, like I said, the cashew almond flavor isn't bad. I don't know if it goes super well. It's just, I think these are store brand mixed roasted nuts, so I think there's just way too much salt. I'd be curious to maybe try this again with a raw mixed nuts, or just a set of raw cashews or peanuts or almonds, but just with no salt on them, because the oil, there's an extra viscosity there that I don't hate, and the almond flavor that's imparted isn't necessarily bad. I just think it feels like somebody threw a pack of salt in my whiskey, which is not good. So I'm hopefully saving a more dessert, sweet, velvety, I'm hoping. Cheers to Infusion Confusion. That's lovely. It's very sweet. So you can tell some of either the sugar that was infused and embedded in the cherries are still sticking to it. Absolutely. Infused itself into the whiskey, obviously, with that color. Probably a little bit of syrup still in there. But just the sugary sweetness from the cherries, because like I said, they were washed and cleaned, obviously had a huge influence. And this is the kind of flavored whiskey I wouldn't mind having. And because it doesn't taste like a sugar syrup. It tastes like actual cherries blasted into my Russell's. It feels like the proof went down a little bit. There's less bite. But even if the proof is the same, it might just be more sugar. That's a beautiful dessert liqueur. And it doesn't taste overly sweet. Honestly, that's a really nice balance of whiskey to sweetness. So, although there may never be a Russell's Rouge cherry-infused liqueur or whiskey specialty, if you ever want to do it at home, Russell's is great. The cherry, vanilla notes that come through in Russell's, I think, complement it well. But I feel like any solid 100 proof bourbon would be excellent if you infused it with a set of cherries. Thank you guys for coming along on my experiment. Fairly well salted, nutty whiskey. And hello for a potential nice dessert liqueur in cherry-infused whiskey. So try it out yourself. Different fruits, different types of nuts, different sweets. I don't know. There's all kinds of things you could potentially infuse. Experimentation is where progress comes. So try it out. Try new things. Expand your mind and always be wrestling with whiskey.